I'm Kevin, and I'm an alcoholic, and I've been through the process of the Big Book Step Study with the help of a Big Book Step Study sponsor, a loving higher power, meetings like these, people like you, currently making amends and practicing all the steps to the best of my ability. I'd like to talk to you about myself and how I got here, and then talk about step 4, sex. I come from a very good family. I was raised Catholic. I got 2 older brothers that are 10 and 12 years older than me. Being the baby of the family, I was spoiled. I had anything I wanted whenever I wanted it. And as I seen my brothers get older, I seen them doing the things that was a way of life back then, was the drinking, the drugs, and everything goes with it. They were products of the late 60s, early 70s. So by the time I reached their age, I had been through it. I knew it was just a way of life for me. But before that, I'd like to back up and say that in 1973, my father had a cerebral hemorrhage. He was paralyzed for 2 years. I was 9 years old at the time. He's 86 now, and he fully made a comeback from that. But that was a very difficult time in my life, and I was catered to quite often because of that. So, jumping forward a little bit, I reached the age to drink and drug. It was a way of life. And as I went on through my life, when I seen my brothers getting into their 30s, I said to myself, I'm going to slow down when I get in my 30s, then in my 40s, then in my 50s. And I had no idea about this disease and the progression of the disease. I was able to accumulate 4 DUIs, and they were all just a stroke of bad luck. And the last one I was entitled to do some jail time for. And when I got out of the jail, I was ordered to do AA meetings. I didn't want no part of it because I had a hell of a resentment towards the judicial system, law, all that. I had no intention of stopping doing what I was doing. I was just keeping the peace. I also had a marriage, and that lasted 8 years. I was married when I was 26 and had a daughter from that marriage. And at that time, things were getting out of hand. And so we decided to try counseling. And at that point in my life, I made the determination that it was the marriage counselor and my ex-wife against me. I didn't have a problem with the drinking, and that marriage ended up in a divorce. And so with that being said, I went on a tear for a while because I sold the house, sold the car, sold all that stuff. And I'm going to tell you, I had a good time. I'd be lying if I didn't. Then I got involved in another relationship, and this woman had a 5-year-old boy at the time. And to this day, he calls me Dad. I raised him. That relationship has dispersed, and I'm okay with that. This is where God wants me to be. But while I was in that relationship about 4 years ago, as I'm drinking and drugging, I'm just going to say that I drank a lot and I did a lot of cocaine. That's all I need to say about that. So I was progressing, and I was getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And about 4 years ago, my father wasn't feeling quite well, and they found out he had a couple small strokes. At that time, I had a yearly physical with my doctor, and I told him about it. And he knew the history of my father, and he said, well, why don't we have an MRI done and see maybe if what he had, you have, you know? And I did. And so to make a long story short, I went through several procedures. They found I had 2 brain aneurysms, one on this side and one on this side. I was born with them, and I had no idea that I had these. I had no idea. I mean, no headaches, no nothing. But the one on this side needed to be taken care of right away because it was ready to burst. Now that's God interacting in my life right then and there. I didn't know what God has done for me or what He's doing for me now till I came into this program. I've had many near-death experiences, but this one was the icing on the cake. So I went to the neurosurgeon and all that, and they told me that cocaine's the worst thing you can do for any of your arteries or vessels in your body, because when you do cocaine, it jump-starts your heart and sends a blast of blood throughout your vessels, and they can burst. And so they told me that. And then, okay, we're going to have the surgery. So the doctor said, you're going to have the surgery, you're going to be in intensive care for a while, and maybe after 3 or 4 days, if your vital signs are okay, we'll let you go. But you can be here for up to 2 weeks. They said, do not drink, do not do cocaine, because what we put in your head can rupture, you can have brain seizures, and it just isn't going to be pretty. I said, okay. So I had my first operation. I was in intensive care. The next day they moved me to my own room, and the day after that I wanted to go home. My vital signs were okay. I wanted to go home not because I wasn't feeling any better, it's because I wanted to drink. By the time I got home, within an hour, I was drinking vodka and Sprite, and within a week, I was doing coke. Whatever they told me did not apply to me, because I'm not, I'm better than all that, It did not apply to me. And I got through that one. Got back to work. Work is also very big to me. I was brought up with 2 good ethics in life: compassion for people and work ethics. I got back to work. I went back a little too early, and then 6 months later I had the same thing. Same thing. Replay it. Don't drink, don't do coke. Had the operation. By the 4th day I'm at home doing the same thing. Now things are really getting bad. I was not knowing it at the time, destroying everyone around me, destroying myself. But more importantly, I was destroying the people that were closest to me. That's what I do. And as the progression kept going and going and going, I found myself in a very, very bad spot in my life. And I shit you not, I was in a basement with a TV, a broken recliner, an end table, and a phone book. And at 4 a.m, I had the presence of God come into me, and I picked up the phone. I mean, there was like a warm, slow feeling. That was my gift of desperation. You see, I believe that when I had gotten out of jail and went on for probably another 10, 11 years, I had been praying to help me with this, because I knew I had a problem, but I just didn't know anything about this turning it over stuff. But I believe that God wanted me to go through those 10, 11 years, to suffer more, to go through the pain, and then step in and say, that's it. So I would really want it. I would truly appreciate the gift of desperation. So I had called AdCare, never been to a detox. Excuse me. None of that. I didn't know what detoxes was. So I go there, did that, and then I did the 2-week thing. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold. Take cough drops and they make me cough. Anyways, so then I did the 2-week phase 2, whatever the heck it was, and then they called me upstairs to see this woman Jan, and she does placement, and she said to me, "You're gonna go to the Tory house." I'm like, well, what's a Tory house? She said, it's a sober house. I had no idea about sober houses. I said, okay, I'll go there for a week. She said, no, you're going to go there. You're going to go there for at least a month. Okay, so I get there, and part of the criteria is to get involved with the Big Book Step Study and get a Big Book Step Study sponsor who's been through the process. I had no idea about Big Book Step Study. And that's how I got here. I was coming to these meetings and I had no idea what anybody was talking about. And I'm like, this is not good. But I kept an open mind, and I kept willing to learn, because I didn't get here by myself. I got here by the grace of God. So at least I can do is give them some patience and tolerance and try to get what the hell everyone's talking about. And you know what? After a period of time, it started to come together. You know, so like if you're starting out and you don't understand what the hell is going on, you just got to keep coming, because it'll come together. Every time I come here, I'm hearing things from people that, oh, yeah, that's right, because it applies to me now, it didn't then. And I can foresee this happening because I hear it all the time. By the grace of God, if I'm here 20 years from now, I'm going to hear something or see something in this book that I didn't even know was there, because it applies to me then and it didn't apply to me. You know what I'm trying to say? So with that, that's how I got here. And what works for me, before I go on to the sexes, I do a meeting a day, try to do 2. I have a Big Book Step Study sponsor. I come to these meetings. I have a counselor on the outside, a 72-year-old woman with 25 years of sobriety. Wonderful person. Also, I have a spiritual advisor, Monsignor Skolin at St. Peter's Church, who I'm going to see after this meeting, because the Fall Bazaar is today. They're going to have a pumpkin patch in the gym. I got to go buy my granddaughter a pumpkin. I forgot to tell you that. Between my son and my daughter's blessed me with a 5-year-old grandchild, and my son, who's 22, has a 3.5-year-old I have a grandson. So I call her the princess. I call him the monster. 'Cause he's like the monster, but he's cool. So that's what I do. And as far as my living arrangements, I've been at the sober house for 2 years and a little over 4 months. I'm still there now, and that's where I need to be. They tell me when it's time to move on, I'll know. I don't know when that is, and I'm not worried about when that is. What I have today is good, and I'm happy with what I have. So, I used to be like, so where you living? Sober house. I know what I mean? So, I don't really give a shit now, you know what I mean? That's where I am. If you don't like it, that's fine. That's on you. I'm happy. I'm comfortable in my own skin. That's the bottom line. So enough of that. So let's talk about sex, which people don't talk about enough. No one likes to talk about it, all right? When I was growing up, I didn't have no advice on sex. The only advice I got from my father was, don't let your little head doing the thinking of your big head, and that didn't go too far. Honest to God, that's it. I was off and running. So now you add alcohol and cocaine into the equation, it's on. You know what I mean? Except for the 2 relationships I was in for long term, that was different. But, the one-on-ones, the one-nighters, this is where I really was able to take a look at myself, because when I started the 4th step, when I said, sex, that's going to be a piece of cake, no problem. It actually was the hardest part of my 4th step for me. I had started writing my 4th step on the sex, listing names, and all of a sudden I had a blank. And I don't know if it was fear or I don't know what it was to this day. And I was praying on it for a couple weeks, And God would have me write on the weekends. I couldn't write during the week because I was dead from work. But he'd get me up at like 2:30, 3 o'clock on a Saturday morning, I swear. And I'd start writing. So anyways, I'm praying one Saturday morning, and I'm praying on this. And again, I had the presence of God come in, but this time it was more profound. It was just really, really slow, really, really heavy feeling that came in. I could feel it. And by the time it got halfway down, I had all I could do to finish my prayers. I'm getting goose pimples thinking about it. And I just grabbed my pen, and it just all came out. I can't explain it. All I can say is God came in. And it all came out, you know what I mean? So that was good. I got the names down and all that stuff. Like I said, when you add drugs and alcohol into the equation, it would make me do things I just normally wouldn't do, okay? You can use your imagination on that. Now, if I met a woman in a bar and I wanted to get what I wanted, okay, you could be talking to me and say, you know, I just love cuddling up on the couch with a blanket and watching Lifetime movies. And I would say, what a coincidence. I love Lifetime. They're the best. And a fuzzy blanket. Oh my God, I can't believe this. You know, all right? But that's the truth. You know what I mean? So, I would do what I wanted to do to get what I wanted from them. All right? Now, when I did the turnarounds on this is really, this is where I got to take a good look at myself. Like it says, did I unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness? You bet. Whom had we hurt? Was I at fault? All the time. You like that? Not bad. I'm like a cat. Anyways. But anyway, in all seriousness, this really hit home to discover who I was and how I treated women. Because when it came to sex, and I looked at these turnarounds, my sex drive would overcome the compassion of women. I didn't care about you. I wanted what I wanted. And, you know, that is so wrong. And I don't have to be that way anymore. Another thing that would be involved with the whole sex thing is some women, unlike the two relationships that were long term, some of the women would have had children or had children. And if I was around long enough, those children might not have had a father in their life for whatever reason, and I became a father figure to them. And then when I got sick of the bullshit, I'd vaporize. I'd screw. What did I do to those kids? You know what I mean? It's just not the woman. I affected a lot of people. Not only the children in the relationship, the woman's parents, the woman's family. You know, I was like the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then I'm so selfish, things aren't going my way. I'm heading down south. I'm out of here. Not right. Not right at all. So, there's one other thing I'd like to say is that when I made my list and went through it with my sponsor, right, I was trying to justify my actions. Like, well, Sheila used to like to drink, she used to like to do coke, she used to do this, she used to do that, and my sponsor said, wait a minute, Kevin, this isn't about her or them. This is about you. This is about your actions, how you reacted, what you did, what your part was in it. You know? And but I was trying to get away with justifying why I did what I did. And it kind of like sunk in when he told me that, but this is kind of a hard subject to talk about. People don't like to talk about it. I think it should be discussed more often. And I think that it should be discussed more often with our children. Because I think that if we have the capability to do so, we could probably save a lot of problems for those children that are growing up. You know? I mean, I have my two children are products of babies having babies, you know? They weren't ready to have children. I'm blessed with the grandchildren I have. I don't know what's morally right or morally wrong, but the world's crazy. This world's out of control, man. And if you want to put blinders on, go ahead. But this world's fucked up. So all we can do is be power of examples and try and help these people. Help our kids, help our children. Because they're in a world of shit. Look at the shit we've been through. It's only getting worse. I don't mean to sound like Mr. Doomsday, you know what I mean? But we got to step up. We got to step up to the plate, not only in these halls but out there. And I'm Kevin, and I'm an alcoholic.